Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. I have a very special guest today, all the way from U.A.E. Hi, I have Barney from Nervecell. Hi, Barney.
What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo está acá?
Mabuti, mabuti.
You're in Philippines, right? At the
Yeah,
moment.
I mean,
I know you're Sri Lankan, but yeah.
yes. So how you do? How you been doing with all this pandemic and everything?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, as you know, I've been out of work for 7 weeks. I mean, apart from being a musician, I still work. Not a 9 to 6, but I'm kind of like a freelancer. I'm
Right.
a music teacher on the side, so um, yeah, and I do a lot of private lessons. So I go to people's houses and I teach them. Um, and yeah, um, it's kind of crazy. It's historical in a way what we're going through right now. So
Yeah.
I've never been through anything like it before. Everyone's got a financial hit at the moment, so um, as musicians too, we're suffering quite a bit because it's quite scary the times we're in, and what they're saying is going to be the new next normal,
Right.
and how a lot of venues are going to be out of business and stuff. So um, I think in times like this, we just gotta focus on the positives and sort of reflect. And for me, as a creative person, I try to do a lot of writing in this stage. It sort of comes naturally by instinct when you're in this
Yeah.
cloud of like nothing but depression and like negativity around. So you try and stay positive and focus on what you got. So it's rough, man. I mean, the numbers here in Dubai are fluctuating. So we've had a crazy run of things going on here. There's like rules that are opening and then they're easing, and then they're like curfews at night, and they change that like 3 days later, and then there's like numbers that are going up and down, and then malls are opening and closing, and then parks are opening and closing, gyms are now open, gyms are not open the next week. It's like, well, nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a scary time. And I personally know two people who've passed away,
Wow.
sadly,
Okay.
from the UAE metal scene, who I've interacted with and physically met and hung out with. So it's real, man. I mean, all those who are you know shutting this down and saying it's some throwing out conspiracies and stuff. This is real. This is nothing um to play with. You got to do your bit. You
Yeah.
got to respect others and social distance as much as you can. It sucks. I hate it. But it's a learning lesson for all of us, man.
Right. Right. Actually, I was looking at your album. You guys actually released a song called "Upon an Epidemic Scheme," right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's like the second track on Psychogenocide. Yeah,
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 it's
and that's
kind of
kind of yeah. That's well. Actually, it's kind of going in line with what I was saying. Like there's a lot of things going on and word out there that this whole thing was created in a way in a lab in Wuhan. So
right.
we don't know all the facts and evidence. Apparently, there's a lot of evidence to say that, to back that up. But like what we wrote that song upon an epidemic scheme was really centering around the point of it being planned.
Mm,
Like an organized inside group, so to speak. Um, yeah, so kind of read between the lines there. I'm not saying that it is what it is. Like I said, this is nothing to play with. This is a serious matter. But
yes.
there have been attempts before with the high ups to pull something off like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Actually, here also, I mean, we've been having lockdowns for like just last week we started opening up.
okay,
I went to work like 3 days this week. I also
sure,
got a COVID test actually, so I'm
okay,
quite happy that I'm negative.
hell yeah. It's all that metal inside of you, man. They can't make it.
Yeah.
It's naturally immune system pulling it out, saying no,
Right.
fuck that. Yeah,
Yeah, I think we get a lot of immunity because our immune systems are quite strong because we've been with the crowd, right? Or in the mosh pits and so many
right.
people.
Well, and probably the part that you're Sri Lankan and you've been eating so much spicy food in your life, your lungs don't take anything. They're just like all out, man. That's we're too strong for you. Yeah, because your food, man, your cuisine, Sri Lankan cuisine is insanely spicy. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a big foodie myself. So yeah, we can talk about that later though.
Yeah. So, Barney, I mean, before we start to talk about music, I want to ask you about your childhood, growing up in, UAE and all this,
Yeah.
how do you discover music and ultimately discovered metal?
Yeah. Wow. This may take a long time to answer, but I'll try and be as on the point as possible. Um, I always grew up in Dubai, right? I was born in Dubai. So and being in a '90s kid. Well, when I actually got into music, it was in the '90s, around when I was like 12 years old. So roughly '94. Um, yeah, I mean, I was always surrounded by music and musicians as well. Like from my mom's side of the family, her brothers used to play the guitar, and we always used to have parties and stuff. And my
Mm.
parents would always like have the radio on, and then whenever there were parties, there would be a dancing session, and it was full of life. Our parties, our family parties that we would hold,
Right.
and well, obviously it wasn't metal. It was a more commercially viable music, country western or whatever dance hits or whatever they were. But my parents loved to dance. We're originally from Goa, so if you know anything about Goans, they love their drink as much as their music.
Yes.
So just very fiesta, so happy family people, loving people, man. So music was always around me. Whether I liked it or not, it was always in the background. So I used to watch a lot of MTV. I think that's the primary source for me as a teenager growing up. It just used to be on. If there's any channel I would opt to, it wouldn't be a sports channel or anything. It would be more like MTV and just in the background again, as per usual. So I think I was always musically inclined,
Mm.
but it was one summer my mom sort of asked me when we were going through summer vacations, and I was in Dubai and we weren't really traveling that year. She was like, maybe you should pick up an instrument. And I was like, yeah, why not? At that time, MTV used to have this show called MTV Unplugged,
Mm.
and a lot of the bands who were breaking at that point, they used to do the unplugged sessions and basically strip down songs of what the album was,
Yes.
and it was a very intimate setting and stuff. So I used to see that come on quite often. Pearl Jam and Nirvana, especially the Unplugged in New York album, which came out even eventually.
Yes.
I just remember seeing that, and I was not really a musician at that point, but I remember when she suggested that to me. That was on air a lot on MTV. They would repeat that quite often, and I was like, I remember "The Man Who Sold the World," that particular song, and the entire set, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna play an instrument, I'm gonna play the guitar because that was like in the back of my head. I remember seeing that so often, so that's how I got into music. I mean, that's how I picked it up, and I started learning for the first 3 months on an acoustic guitar and finding my way. And then while I was learning and starting to appreciate music in general, Nirvana, The Unplugged in New York, and whatever other bands that were on MTV, I remember very distinctively staying up really late, later than my um, curfew or whatever you want to call it, my
Right.
my time to go to sleep was. And I was like 12 years old at this point, so I'm already starting to be a little bit of a rebel in a
Right.
way, finding my way. And we had a TV I had my TV in my own room, which I shared with my brothers at that time. I have two brothers, so and I used to stay up and watch whatever's on again, as was per usual, trying to get up to mischief. And I fell on the show that came on at some really weird hour, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Obviously, because throw all the metal at some hour where everyone sleeps and nobody cares, right? That's what
Right.
they were doing. And in Dubai, I mean, you would never see a show called Headbangers Ball. I mean, it was there, but it would air at like some ungodly hour, man. Like 3, 4. Who stays up at that time? In
Yeah.
in the '90s too. Like, so it was like coincidence. I was just up, awake, glued onto the TV, and then MTV Headbangers Ball comes in. And I was like, well, this looks a bit intimidating. And the first thing I see is this host, and he plays back to back, like Sepultura, Arise, which was live from the Barcelona Under Siege DVD.
Yes.
And right after that was Slayer, Seasons in the Abyss, like the music video. And I was like, can I curse in here? I mean, I may curse automatically because I was like, when I try to reflect, I literally look at that and I was like, what the fuck is this shit? I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And it was like these guys with like, crazy intense audiences in front of them, and like long hair and the fast-paced music. I was like, and this is not something I've never heard before. At that point, it was like MC Hammer, New Kids on the Block. Like this was the hot stuff back in the 90s, the early 90s and mid 90s even. So it was like into music, but I didn't see any of this, like this extreme side of things. And I was just like blown away because at this time I was like learning like E minor, G chord on the guitar, you know, really basic stuff.
Right.
And I was like, man, where my entire life has been a lie. Like, what the hell is going on here? I couldn't believe it. It was almost like a calling for me, man. That I had stayed up that night, and I don't stay up that night. I mean, that late at that point, at that age in my life. So it was like a calling. I saw that, and I was like, immediately, I knew. I was like, you know what? I just started playing the guitar like a month ago or two, and I'm up at this hour I didn't even expect to be up at, and then this stuff comes on, and I'm like, I have so much more to discover in my life.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I got to start tuning in at 3 a.m. every other week, and I gotta get that VHS out, and I gotta press that record button so I could research and keep watching this and try and learn and understand. And it's just like I was hooked, man. Ever since that day, some summer in '94, I don't remember the exact date or whatever, but it was the summer in '94, and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm going in neck deep, you know, head first into this shit, and I'm gonna keep discovering and find out. And you got to understand, as anyone would tell you, being a kid in the Middle East, in Dubai specifically, that we had no media for metal. We had no magazines, no radio stations, no labels, you know, nothing. So it was literally going on a hunting spree to discover and find out for yourself. I mean, if you, I would start watching the show every week then, and then start trying to go into the record stores here, which we had like a handful, maybe 2 or 3 in all of the U.A.E, and try and ask them for these band names, and they would look at me like I'm like speaking alien language or something, man. They had, obviously they had nothing. I mean, there was a music section, and it's like take what you get from there, you know, the top 40 hits or whatever, you know. They didn't have any specific rock or metal site or thing. So, man, I could go on. I mean, every week I would learn new bands, pencil them down, go into the record store, ask them if they have it. If they don't have it, these guys didn't know what I'm talking about. So I would look for myself because I wasn't satisfied. I would be very inquisitive, and I would find like, you know, the Black Album. I would find like Cowboys from Hell. I would find like randomly a Slayer album, Divine Intervention. I don't know how these things came into the country, but they came in. They were on shelves. So whatever I got lucky with, or whatever looked metal enough to me as a metal cover, I just picked up like at random. You couldn't really say, hey, can I listen to this first? No, nothing. It's sealed. You buy it, you take a risk. You know, whatever looked metal to me, I bought. Whatever had the same record label of another band that I know was a metal band, I would buy. So it was like a gamble, but really what it is, and where inspiration really fumes from for me, being a metalhead, is doing that groundwork, like getting into it so deep that you would go on feet, on ground, you know, walk, discover, search, research. There was no internet back then, you know. So doing all of that and then discovering all these bands while you're doing all of that was like finding gold, man. It was like so much to learn and so much to do it on your own time and needs, you know. Having that will to want to do so much and learn. And when I find shit, man, I would take it to my school and show it to my school friends and like try and get them into it and stuff. I was like, hey, listen, I'm going to show you something. Don't tell anyone else. We don't want this to be, you know, trendy and fashionable, you know. It was like, if you're really into it, man, I'm gonna let you borrow this cassette. You know, I was like really, really passionate about that shit right from the get-go.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're saying that, I kind of remind it kind of reminded me of my childhood also. It's kind of similar because, you know, growing up in Sri Lanka, it's very hard to find music. Whatever we find, you know.
Right. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It was probably just as hard, man. In Sri Lanka. Maybe a lot of I don't know, bootleg stuff. Like we would get a lot of bootleg stuff, but not made in Dubai. It would be like from, you know, Dubai is a country with 90% expatriates, so you would have a lot of foreigners who come in, and I would give them my Christmas list 6 months in advance of what albums I want, you know. So yeah, but then, and obviously you would record duplicate that and pass it on and then share it with other like-minded people uh, who moved to Dubai because their families moved here from other countries, Europe, America, UK, and they would have a lot more access, with the music stores there, and they would have a little bit more knowledge because they probably, or their parents probably listened to like Deep Purple or Led Zeppelin and stuff.
Right.
So they would have, some initial core of a source to albums and knowledge that we would trade. That I would like, tie myself with in certain circle groups of friends who were into music.
Right.
And really, it was like it was hard, man. It wasn't easy because it was tempting. You could I was very very informed, man. I would keep myself up to date. Like I said, ever since that one episode, I tuned in every other week after that, and like saw interviews with bands, the latest videos that they were releasing. Videos were a big thing back then.
Yes.
And yeah, I would record it myself on a VHS cassette, like I said, and keep watching it throughout the week and like learn the songs and like really really awesome times, man. I still have a lot of those VHS cassettes I used to record all these videos and I just keep it for like novelty value at this point because it's the truth,
Right.
man. I mean,
Right.
that was my initial learning,
So, discovering music, and then you started playing guitar. Then, when did you like have the idea to like you want to form a band?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So in my last 2 years of high school in '98, right up to 2000, when I actually felt I was a decent player. I, like I said, remember that story I told you about, like where I was taking these cassettes and like showing people selectively.
Right.
Those same kids, about three of them got into it. The Metallicas, the Slayers, the Panteras, and stuff. That was available in the market locally. The cassettes we had. They sort of got it. They liked it. They liked the image, or they thought it was like rebellious in a way
Mm.
and not hip like what all the other kids were listening to. So we sort of felt a little bit of a unity there, a sense of unity. And I just took the initiative to suggest, hey guys, why don't we assign each other an instrument and try and let's just cover some of these songs or play or just think we're cool enough to play in a band. It'll be cool to try something out.
Right.
Because we had nothing to do here, man. I mean, you had the summer camps and which is sports and games and stuff. Like, fuck that, let's just play music, man. Let's just try way into this shit. We're like a cult now. So
Right.
I started to encourage these four kids. I remember them by name, man. John, he was a Filipino guy. John, he was on bass. Savio, who, hey,
Yeah.
hey, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know. Are you gonna crop these in together or
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just
I
happened?
will. I will fix it.
Okay, okay, cool. So I was kind of worried. I was like, man, I don't know where to start again. Absolutely. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just technology. So.
yeah, yeah. So I was saying, should I just go into it from where I left off?
Yeah. You were telling me about how you started.
Yeah,
Your friends who started the playing together.
yeah. So we were in school, obviously, and then you know we used to jam every Sunday in our houses, or my house, or one of my other friends' house in the band at that time. So we started the school band. It wasn't a school band; it was a band with friends from school, really. And we just did it for fun, and that lasted for a bit. We were called Spit at the time.
Right.
I don't know why; it just sounded metal. Uh, Probably had to do with that Slipknot song, "Spit It Out," at the time. I mean, this
Right.
is like 2000, 2001. So, but yeah, I mean, I got those kids into it, and it was like, obviously, we couldn't play as well as the bands we were listening to. We were just trying and finding our way. And after I graduated from school, I then went to university here, an American University of Dubai, Center for American Education, it was called, and it was then where I met actually other musicians, guys who were actually good and were into music and wanted to jam and be a little more serious because the guys in school we were just having fun, experimenting. But
Right.
when I went to university, I found more like-minded people who were actually good and really knew the music I liked too. Like, that was a big thing for me. Like finding those guys was like important because I would probably not last if I didn't find like-minded musicians. And it was from there where I went to university and I met a drummer called Hatem, and another guy, an American dude called Brogan, um, who really sparked what became to be Nervecell. Um, yeah, nobody knows this. Like the original Nervecell lineup was way different from what it is now. I mean, we were a 5-piece for beginners,
Right.
uh, and we were a cross between like Hatebreed and well, hardcore. Well, really, Hatebreed was a big influence on me. A cross between hardcore and death metal,
Mm.
with like high pitched vocals, like Danny Filth vocals, like really high pitched. Um, so it was really weird. It was like just take what you get, sort of thing. Take whoever's alive and
Right.
who understands your musical language, and just mash it and play what you want. We started. That was when I really started playing original music, composing and stuff with these guys. I mean, again, I couldn't have done it without them, and I have to give them credit. I mean, I don't know where they are right now. I know Hatem, who was the original Nervecell drummer, um, is an aeronautical engineer,
Mm.
and I have no idea how many kids he has or how many wives he's had or whatever. I'm just joking. I know he's married. But I have no idea where he is. And Brogan's in the U.S. right now, who was the original Nervecell vocalist. We played like about 4 or 5 shows with that lineup, and then the inevitable happens, which is the Dubai typical story. People leave. People are here for anything between 5 to 10 to 15 years, and then they cash out, go back to where they're from, buy that house, and retirement comes in
Mm.
for their family or their parents. For me, however, I've always been here. I've made this home in a way. So yeah, it's just the way life works, man. That's when Nervecell started. It was in '99 or 2000 with that lineup I just told you about, and
Right.
then around 2002, for 2 years we were playing with that lineup, and then James came in, because back then in Dubai the scene was really local gigs were really playing in these universities where we had access to a stage.
Right.
It was all like they allowed the youth or the college students, they call them sound society or the youth councils in these universities to organize events. And in the universities themselves were these metalheads or these fans of music who would give us a platform to play local bands. No paperwork, no permissions, nothing, just a bunch of kids going on stage, excited as hell to play.
Mm.
Whether it's cover songs or originals, and that's where Nervecell's foundations really started. Because we were all students ourselves in these universities, mixed around, and we would get asked by friends and acquaintances to play, and that's when we would just jump at any opportunity that we got to get a stage to play this extremely loud music that nobody really kind of knew even at that time. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
So how did the 5-piece lineup became the 3-piece lineup?
Yeah. So Brogan left back to the U.S., who was the original vocalist, and Hatem was having a lot of difficulties, taking this seriously. He was the most negative, probably one of the most negative guys I ever met in my life, in the sense that he just never saw himself as a drummer, and that had to do with his upbringing. Like his parents. Well, he was Jordanian, right? A lot of if you have any Arab friends, they'll tell you the Arab. I hate to say it, but like the mentality at home, for the most part, was still not curved in a way where their kids, that they saw their kids to be musicians. They just said, "You're gonna be an engineer, and that's the fuck it. You're not doing anything
Right.
else. You're gonna get a job. You're gonna be a doctor or something, and you're gonna get a family, a wife, at least 3 kids minimum, and that's it. You're gonna make us happy." So he was pressured, man. Like I would talk to him, and I would be like, "Dude, we got a jam next week. Let's write this new song or two I've been working on." He was like, "Bro, how far you think you're gonna make it with this?" He would always question me and say that to me, and I was like, "Well, at least if it gets us busy next week, at least we have a plan of action. Let's do something. Let's stay productive."
Right.
Like he would always pick me up, and we would always hang out and check out bands and stuff. But in terms of being a band ourselves, he never took that seriously. And now I always used to encourage him and motivate him, and I would be like, "Come on, man, let's just have fun. This is fun. Like I would rather do this than go watch a movie or play video games or something." And he was always on the fence with it. He was always like, "Yeah, I love it, man. I love to play, but like, how far do you think you're gonna go? Like, do you think we're gonna one day open for Metallica?" He actually said that to me once. And
Wow.
when, and we can talk about that later. When the opportunity actually came 11 years later,
Right.
I actually really looked for him to remind him about that quote he questioned me on. He said because to us that's all we knew. Metallica was that the epitome of metal.
Yeah.
Of how successful you could be, how big you can be, of how impactful their music was,
Right.
and being influenced by them, of course. So he asked me those questions, and I was like, well, I never dreamt about these things. I kind of like I just loved it. So I would always encourage him, and then he sort of eventually gave way. He kind of lost touch. He didn't come out to jam more. He wasn't showing interest. We kind of lost touch because he was trying to look for work after he graduated and stuff. And I was like, not fed up. I was just like, there's a lot of other people I know who play as well. But
Right.
because I was friends with the guy, I used to always have a preference and prioritize him. But nothing was stopping my engines from fuming, man. I just mixed around with so many people, and eventually we ended up finding James. Hatham was still in the band at this time, and then James came in because we played a show in this college called AUD, and James was in the audience, and he saw us, and Rami was there too. They were friends. They came from Qatar, from Doha,
Mm. All
to
right.
Dubai to Dubai to study in the American University in Dubai. They were students there, and Nervecell played a show there. So they actually both James and Rami saw Nervecell as a five-piece initially, and this is in 2002 probably. And then in 2003, James officially became a member. And then later that year, he said, "Hey man, I have this really good friend. His name's Rami. He's from Doha too. He's into metal, man. You'll love him. He's a guitarist too." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because I was like empty-handed at this point. All the members who I had in from that initial five-piece lineup kind of left, went their own
Mm.
way, or weren't interested as much. So I was like, all constantly on the lookout. Again, it was not so much for me to, it wasn't like Nervecell was everything to me. It was like it was more a need to just surround myself with creative people and like-minded people.
Right.
Obviously we had this name. It was a local name at that point, just another band in the local scene called Nervecell. Um, and then Rami came and we auditioned him really in my house. We sat down, we played. We actually hung out for a lot more before we actually talked about joining the band.
Mm.
We were actually all in the same group every weekend, having meals and going to restaurants and catching up and going to other gigs. So it was like kind of natural how he came in, being a friend of James, and when James came in as well, it was like I knew like these guys are different. They had that fire in them from the start, and I saw a sense of creativity, and I saw I could be comfortable with myself writing music and being myself openly with them, and that's very, very important. But but that original lineup though, I have to tell you this is a true story. We played our first gig at the Battle of the Bands in 2001 in Abu Dhabi, because Brogan, the original vocalist, had a lot of friends in
Mm.
Abu Dhabi, so we applied for it. We went there, and I swear we didn't even care what we wore. We were just like, if I have pictures from that gig, I wore a white shirt, from like plain white Giordano shirt, and cargo pants. Like it was so funny because when you look at it now, everything matters. But back then, like we didn't care. The point was just to get up on stage and play. We had like two originals with the five-piece lineup that I wrote with them, and we just got a slot. We got a slot that we could apply for this show. It was the Battle of the Bands. We didn't care about this battle
Mm.
aspect of things. We just wanted to play because
Play.
we knew we had something special, and we're gonna blow people's minds away. Like we were so extreme in a way where no one else was playing that sort of extreme genre. There was like punk, grunge, hard rock, but there was no like death metal or extreme vocals and stuff. So we were like, let's just register and have fun. We blow these people away and just like have a laugh. But we ended up playing the show, man. Nobody knew who we were. It was like our first gig, obviously. Nervecell was the name applied for. We had 2 weeks prior to practice and rehearse these two songs because they wanted one original and one cover. That was the
Okay.
requirements.
Right.
Went there, played our shit. End of the night, the judges come up on stage. Best guitarist, Barney, long-haired dude from Nervecell. Not even Barney, it was just like long-haired dude from Nervecell was written on the envelope, and it was like a gift voucher from a music
Right.
store. And because nobody knew us, man. And one of the awards was most creative band as well, and that really had to do with our honesty in just dying to play and our desire to just fucking get out there and the energy and everything, man. We stood out. When I watched that video, because we obviously had it all recorded and stuff, you could tell why we won that most creative band award, because there was like 8 awards: best vocalist, best bassist, best original song, best guitarist, best drummer, and then most creative band, and then something else. I know one of the 8 awards. So we won 2 of the 8, and it was our first gig ever, and that to me was very inspiring. I was like, holy shit, man! So we could be something here, And I just took that and I just kept fighting through. I realized 2 months later where there was another Battle of the Bands in Dubai, and I applied for that. I went and said, you know what, we have some credibility now. We just did this Abu Dhabi thing. People may know us. We made T-shirts, just like 50 T-shirts, printed them at home, screen printing.
Right.
Brogan was really good at that. And we went to the Dubai edition of the Battle of the Bands. It was all colleges or school bands, and people knew who we were. They were like, I can't wait to see you guys. Man, you guys are amazing. I've been telling my friends about this. I can't wait to see you guys do what you did in Abu Dhabi again. And it was a much bigger stage. The shirts all sold out, like all 50 of them. I have my one. It's like a souvenir at this point. Like it's the original print, and it's like those were signs for me that from the very start, I was very fortunate that I actually got those signs. I could see that there's something here. It's not just a fun thing anymore. Like that high school band I started. It's not just a hobby or something. It's like we have something here. People are coming up. People are talking about us. People are ready to buy like this T-shirt we tried experimenting with to sell. Like really fighting for it. Like coming to buy, like willingly paying money out of their wallet to pick up our shirts. It was like if I tried to put myself in their shoes, and I was like, if I saw a band, the local band, if I really liked them and I, came out with my pocket money to buy their shit, it probably means something to me, So I was like, I was very humbled by that, man. I couldn't believe that there was so much enthusiasm from people in the scene who weren't even a part of this. They weren't invested in Nervecell. They just liked what we did, and right from that point, man, like in the first year of Nervecell, the first 2 shows of Nervecell, I knew that I have something here. There's a formula I found. I just got to find the right people to propel this, and just again, the mindset is to just do it because we love it, and whatever comes with that package is great. Why not? It's your baby. You created this in your room. And then people love it. Hell yeah, that's just amazing.
So so after a few years, you guys put up your first EP, right?
Yeah, that was 2004, Human Chaos. Again, the reason why we did that was because people started telling us at the local shows we were playing in Dubai, in the UAE, saying, hey man, you know what? Why don't you guys put out an album? And it was not a band thought process. It was more for fans asking us, why don't you guys put something out? Because we would play once every 2 months, every 3 months around the local circuit in the UAE. We would play the gigs, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, whenever we got asked. But we never really thought of, going to a studio, writing down. We had like 4 or 5 originals, but we never really thought of recording. It was more of people in the scene, promoters or fans saying, hey man, you guys need to put something on CD. And it was like, it started to sink in slowly, gig after gig, that this was a common topic that was asked of us. And we're like, you know what? Yeah, let's take the next few months off from playing live, stay out of it for a while. And let's talk to people who have the knowledge about recording, because we didn't. We were just musicians. We were just like happy to play. And we had these songs, and we were like gonna, polish up our originals. And then we started discovering and researching who has access to a studio in the UAE, and who does it. Being a metalhead was very important too. Not just the Arabic studio where they have no idea. The mix is completely different. They don't even listen to the kick drums and everything. It's like, someone who is a metalhead, but also has access to a studio and knows how to work with the interface of being in the studio. And we found this guy called Karen Sequeira, who was also a long time dude in the scene. also a fellow guitarist at that time. And we just hit him up and said, look, man, we have these 5 songs we've written, and we want to probably record it. And what are your rates? And at that point, Kieran really did not do anything with any other band in terms of recording. So it was a big deal for him too, because now, and I sound obnoxious when I say this, but like at that point, for Kieran to work with Nervecell too was really good for him, because we were one of those bands who from the scene which had a name, in the early 2000s, and he didn't really record for any other band. He knew all the bands. He was a regular gig goer, but for him to work with us, he was like really excited too, because this is his name on the line too, right? With what we come out with. So we did that in 2004. We took like 2 months to record, I guess, mix and master in his home-based studio. But man, that EP when it came out, like, I can't tell you how it changed our lives. Like it really, really reignited the fire in the band. Because when we put it out, not only did it get us a lot of big gigs in the region, it also got us a lot of international press. And in 2003, 2004, when the internet was just breaking across the world, really,
yes,
it was becoming a normal thing, and where you would discover bands. The EP came out, and we just like I would sit down and take weekends after weekends, just filing down all the labels and all the magazines and all the webzines and websites that I would religiously go to and read about bands. And I said, wait a minute, I'm in a band too. We have this EP. We're from the Middle East. It's a death metal EP from the Middle East, very like cryptic and, caveman. Let me just use the means we have. And for what it's worth, I would like to see what they think, because it was like, it would be a privilege for me to get a review from any one of those websites or magazines or whatever labels would respond back to me if they did. But we don't know unless we try. So I sat the guys down and I'm like, man, who's stopping us? I mean, who makes the rules here? This is our creation. We have an EP. We did this for ourselves because we want to look back at it some years from now and say, you know what, in our teenage years growing up as a band, this is what we did, and we have something to show for it today. But there's a whole world out there that are devoted to this genre of music, and these webzines and these magazines and these labels and radio stations and what you have. So I just went out, started scribbling down these bullet points of who I want to send, top 10 labels, top 10 webzines that I would religiously read and follow. Found their addresses online, just shipped them out, man. Went to the local post office here, sent out an EP, just a CD with a printed bio, an A4 page, maybe a band picture at that point, what you would call a press kit today. And just literally went and shipped it out and said, whatever happens, happens, man. We don't know. But you know what? We did it. We tried. We did our bit.
right.
And no expectations, man. No expectations. But what happened months after that, like 3 months into that, people started checking us out. People started dropping us lines. We had a MySpace at that time. We were the only band in Dubai who had an actual website for the band, nervecell.net. No other band in the region, I would say, even invested into what was $20 to $15 a year to have a domain. We did that because we were just like, we studied. We were educated dudes, man. We went to university. We graduated and stuff, and we were like, let's. Oh, we were actually studying while the EP was being recorded. To be honest, we were halfway through our university degrees, so we applied all that we were learning, all the IT skills, all the management skills, all the business skills, into what would go into being a band as well, which goes hand in hand, really. And we just used our knowledge. We just experimented, sent those press kits out, and the amount of amazing reviews we got was so positive, man. It really, really inspired us. Like it blew us away, if anything. And again, like those first 2 gigs that hit me, I saw the signs, man. And these reviews came, totally unbiased reviews. They don't know us. They don't have to sugarcoat anything. They really liked the EP. And then for the time we were in 2004, putting out a death metal record that came out from the United Arab Emirates, it just sounded like really weird. But these journalists and stuff really got on that shit. We were independent. We were not signed to a label, nothing.
Right.
We didn't have a management. We didn't have a publicist. We didn't have a booking agent, nothing. we had to literally learn the ropes, and I still do it till today, man. I still, from this house, I still, learn the ropes and travel and network and do it myself, because that's the only way I know. I've learned one thing in life. It's that no one will fight for your creation or your baby that you've
Right.
invented as much as you. There's no one who'll do that, because whether they're financially invested in it or
Mm-hmm.
passionate enough, they won't be as passionate enough or have the willpower as much as you would. You know,
Right. Right.
I just never had this approach to rely on anyone. I just never had it, because not that I didn't believe people would work behind it or are hard fighters to work behind it. It's just that I just knew that they would never do a good job as much as I would, like, passionately lose sleep over. You know what I mean? So from the day one, man, I've always been, pushing this myself, and with zero expectations. Just sort of have the key thing is you got to love what you do, and with the natural love of wanting to do things, you will go, well, you'll move mountains, man. You'll
Mm-hmm.
go far. You'll go far enough, and that's what happened with Nerfcell. Like, from that EP, we got so many good reviews and such positivity coming in from all over the world that we actually started to look at the world now, not just Dubai, which is a dot on the map.
Right.
Started looking at the world, and then that changed our perspective of things completely. We started looking at it like we need to play to everyone out there, where the masses are. Europe, look at Asia, look at what's going on there. Started broadening up the horizons, doing 10 times more research now to see who else is out there doing this, holding the flag, and maybe get connected and stuff. So right from that EP, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first time I really heard about Nervecell is you guys played in the Desert Rock Festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
2005, I think.
Yeah,
2005.
sure. 2005 was the first time we played. Yeah, it was a
Yeah. And then
Sepultura and Machine Head and The Darkness and Within Temptation.
so how was that experience like opening for those bands like Sepultura?
Oh man, you remember the story I told you how I got into this shit first, and then they're coming to town where their albums aren't even still available.
Right.
It was crazy. That's a funny story too. I mean, that was our first massive gig we played.
Right.
This is no more dingy, smelly, dirty bars, uh, or like jam nights. It was like festivals started was a word for us. We're
Right.
playing a festival, and it's on home ground, and Sepultura is coming to town, and it's Machine Head. And again, these guys' albums weren't even available here, so it was like so weird, man, so weird, because how do you have these bands play in a country where their albums are not even available?
Right.
That's so weird. And obviously, we are influenced by these bands, but now they're playing. Like, I would just go there as a fan, you
Mm.
know. We got asked to play, so at that time, it was 2005. I was in Canada at the time, because I went to study in Canada.
Right.
But the idea was to, just because I wanted a better education, man, and I wanted to get out of here for a while. But Nerfcell was always in the picture. We had a plan where I would come back every summer from Canada, and we would play the shows. We would line up the shows there, because we were still a local band, right?
Mm.
We never played internationally in 2005. We only had an EP out a year before that, in 2004. So I went to university, and we got this call for the Dubai Desert Rock gig. It was 2005, and they told us, like, yeah, you guys want to play, because we're having this festival, and we want some local representation too. And we have your EP, Human Chaos, again, another success story with the EP. If we didn't
Mm.
put that out, we probably wouldn't play that show.
Right.
It was like meant to be, and it was only a year old. So the promoters somehow got a hold of that EP. We didn't know who they were. They were two Armenian sisters, Lara and Jackie, who run CSM, this company, who started Dubai Desert Rock Festival.
Right.
They somehow got a hold of that EP, contacted us, because on the EP there's contact information and email and stuff. We got that email, and man, I was in Canada, dude. I saw that they want us to play. I left Canada, bro. I left an entire semester. I left an entire semester just to play this one gig, and I have to plug in my parents here, because like when I got that email, I spoke to Rami and James, and they actually called me. And we were kids, man. We didn't have money. We had pocket money, right? So whatever we would save up for food or the necessities. Rami called me with James on the side, and he's like, "Bro, check your email." we have this gig to play with Sepultura in Dubai. I was like, what? It's like, no way. How are they even coming? And he's like, dude, I can't talk right now. I don't have enough credit because, you know, we were kids, man. He's like, check your email. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get on it right away. So I went to my room. I used to live in the dorms there, logged onto my laptop, checked it out, couldn't believe it, almost fell off my chair. And I just said, well, fuck it. I'm doing it. Doesn't matter. It was like 2 months in advance where we had to know. We had to come in and play the show. And I was just about starting the Jan semester. And I knew right then, man, I was like, man, I got to call my parents and tell them I'm skipping this semester. I can't. I mean, I would probably miss 2 weeks just to rehearse and get there. But if I'm going to come there all the way, I'm not going to run back to Canada and try and play catch up with my courses and stuff. You know, I was like, fuck it. I'm taking the semester off. I'll come back in the summer and catch up with all the courses I missed and do a summer courses, which are really faster ways to finishing, you know, credits and stuff. Because in the summer they cram it all in. So I was like, that's the deal. I'm gonna negotiate with my folks and say, hey, mom, how you guys doing and stuff. Anyway, there's this gig. It's a very important one. It's a life-changing event for me. And my parents are very cool. They know how much I love this shit, man.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to have a family who supports my musical journey. And this is the truth. My parents knew who Sepultura were because they were scared all their life, walking into my room, hearing fucking Desperate Cry or Rise and, you know, Chaos AD and all of those songs.
Right.
When they would open they would see Sepultura posters on my wall, so they knew who the band were, you know, very well. They knew who Machine Head were. They knew Pantera were, and I told them, hey, you gotta understand, this is a big deal. Like,
Right.
they're coming to town, and we are asked to play. So I was like, I'm coming home. I kind of have to do this. And they're like, okay, are you sure? Are you sure you know what you're doing? And what are you going to do about university? I was like, I'm not going to drop out. I'm going to come back. I'm going to finish up. But let me just do this show, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And my parents, as cool as they were, obviously agreed. I was on the next flight back. Told the guys, book the jam room, man. I'm coming back. We're going to get into action. And yeah, practiced those 5 songs in the EP to death. Played it. That we only had a 30-minute slot anyway. It didn't really matter. We could have played for 5 minutes. But it was important to be part of that because that was a turning point in the U.A.E. or the Middle East metal scene, I would say. Because Desert Rock was like what the Waken is for the Middle East. You know, people from Lebanon, Iran, Syria, Jordan, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman came over, you know. They would travel for this. It was a big deal, man. And for us to get that call, for us to put that EP out around that time, a year before that, everything was kind of aligned, man. Everything was aligned. And again, like, when I look back at all these things, it was beautiful how it all came into form. So
actually, that festival kind of opened up Middle East, right, to the world.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it was like the Waken, man, of the Middle East. Everyone from the neighboring countries would show up, and everyone from there was after the 4th or 5th edition, you would see people coming in from Europe as well for the festival. So yeah, it definitely opened eyes in the metal community to the Middle East for metal. A lot of bands wanted to play there, man. A lot of bands wanted to play there. It was a new territory for a lot of bands who were doing this for 20 plus years in their career and haven't played here before. It opened up metal as a source of putting the Middle East on the map for metal. The Dubai Desert Rock, and all credit to Laura and Jackie, man. I don't know if they're ever gonna watch this. What do you call it? Is this a podcast or vlog?
Podcast.
yeah. I don't know if they're gonna watch this podcast, but man, I always give them credit, man. They turned my life around as a metalhead, as a fan. They definitely gave Nervecell their initial feel for what was to come in terms of playing biggest stages.
Right.
And while I'm talking about them, I should also say that 2 years after that, in 2007, they asked the managers, as well, as a band, as a company. They asked the managers. Yeah.
So when after that you guys released your full length album, I think it's in 2008, 2009.
No, 2007, 2008, Preaching Venom came out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I always watch the video, the demean. It's so
Okay, yeah, yeah.
watching how he sings. It's like it's kind of scary. Huh?
Yeah. Demean was the first video we did actually ever in our career.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was from the Preaching Venom album, 2008. It came out. Um, yeah, and again, we had no budget. Just did that video with the help of friends,
Mm,
and all new experiences for us, man. We never did any of this shit before. Again, it was an idea suggested by friends. It
right.
wasn't a bad idea. So you see, we were very very minimalistic in what we did. We didn't have a team behind us as such. We always were spur of the moment kind of band, very spontaneous with what we did. But yeah, that video came out. That video, funny story. If you go on YouTube and watch the Demean video, there's a girl called Coffee something. Her name is Coffee with a K, I think. Who took the lives, took the video from the Nervecell official YouTube channel and put it up on her own channel, and it like peaked. It's like the video of Demean is like miles away in terms of numbers of viewership on her channel than the Nervecell official channel.
Right.
I don't even know how this happened. Like, I don't even know how she got it. I mean, she probably got it from the Nervecell YouTube channel,
Yes.
but I don't think we promoted it as much. I think we just put it up there. We're like, oh, here's our video, check it out. But this girl, that same day, like, how would you screenshot a video and upload it? I don't know how people do it. I'm really bad with technology. So she did it right from that day when we released the video. But her video is like the one with the highest plays, more than the YouTube channel for Nervecell. And it's like, who is this chick? And what is she doing? But because the quality on her channel is not that good. It's kind of blurry of the video, but it's got the highest hits and the most amount of comments. And the Nervecell YouTube one is like clear quality, but not many views. And I was like, how do people do this? Like, it's crazy. I'm not even pissed off about it. I'm just like amazed by it. Like, wow, thanks. But it's quite funny. It's quite funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so is that how you heard of us? You saw the video, or you just heard of us playing the Desert Rock Festival? Is that?
I heard that. I first heard about the Desert Rock Festival, and then I sort of saw who was playing.
Yeah.
In the bill, and then I actually got to hear because you guys went to Sri Lanka in 2010 or 2011, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you guys played with like Stigmata and other local bands.
Right. So we went to Sri Lanka. I think the first time we went there was with As I Lay Dying to support them.
2009, I think, right?
Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, we did an Asia tour. And one of the stops was Sri Lanka with the support for As I Lay Dying. And then we went on to the Philippines as well. And we did an Asia run in India, Sri Lanka, Philippines, and somewhere else. I think Singapore was on that tour. Yeah. So yeah, the one we did with Stigmata was 2 years later. It was actually Stigmata. Suresh from Stigmata was the promoter there. He brought us down, but by then we had already played Sri Lanka once, so I think we had kind of like a following where we were asked to come back again, and it was like a no-brainer for us. We had such a good time the first time around, so definitely came back.
Yeah,
and it was more for local base. Cyanide Serenity was another band on that show, with Stigmata and Nervecell, so 3 bands. And it was in the British School or something. It was like
right. British School auditorium, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it was killer, man. They had a killer board in front of desk. On the house desk was amazing. Really good show. Yeah, people came out, and Sri Lanka has a big scene actually. I mean, there's a lot of following, a lot of extreme fans there too. A lot of people into extreme music.
Yeah, I actually had Stigmata on this podcast few
Yeah, I think
episodes back.
I actually saw a flyer. I think you put up. Yeah, I saw that. So I figured, like, yeah, of course, some home pride, man. Why not?
It went like chaos because everybody was on, the whole band was
Oh,
on. It was like it was
oh,
hard to
wow,
talk.
wow, that's cool, man. That's admirable that they could get what 5 guys in the room at one
Yeah,
point in
yeah.
time to do this. Holy crap! To get myself here, I was like, yeah, we can work it out.
Now playing desert rock, and then you guys toured all the major festivals, right? Waken,
Yeah,
Rocken.
yeah, man.
How's that experience going on Europe and all these big
Oh,
festivals?
bro, wow, wow, dreams, man. Like those were. See, you gotta understand. Again, we were those guys in Dubai, man, learning all of this stuff ourselves. So we would. It's funny you asked me that because I remember spending weekends with Rami and James, watching the Wacken DVDs, watching the DVDs of With Full Force and Hellfest and Summer Breeze and all these festivals that will put out yearly DVDs of the lineups and the shows. One
Right.
song, one live video of the band from that lineup they played. So we used to watch and we used to spend weekends doing these things, and then to get to play those same festivals was like, holy crap! Who would have thought, man? Oh, I remember this one time we were watching Waiter from Poland playing live in Wacken, and at the time our drummer, a guy called Alan, and we listen, man. We were geeking out. We were freaks. We were metal fans, man. We would listen to albums religiously, study them, like actually sit down and press play and listen
Mm.
together. Like that's how deep we were into this stuff. So the same way we would spend weekends watching videos of bands and watching DVDs. And I remember the drummer at the time, Alan, was telling Rami James and myself, sitting down in the couch watching this stuff, saying, "Man, how cool would it be to play a show like that? You know, like the Wacken experience." And then, man, uh, five we played Wacken in 2009. 4 years later, we're fucking doing exactly what you said. Just like Hatham told me, man, do you think we're gonna play with Metallica one day? How far do you think you're gonna go with this? And it's like I have these like memories stuck in my head, man. With these, not because I took them as challenges. It's
Mm.
just that it takes me to that place, man, where these things were talked about in with out of pure innocence, and then without even aiming to get there, they inevitably happen, which is like really a moment I can have with myself, and no one will even understand how deep that goes. Like when those things connect, I actually feel like there's a reason why I've gone through what I've gone through in life to achieve this, and why I've stuck to my roots and stuck to my choices and continuing to do what I had to do and go through all the hurdles and all the hardships and the compromises of life when you try to be in a band and be consistent. So Desert Rock was our first experience at home. We were kids, we didn't know what we were doing, we just were excited as always. And then when we got the Preaching Venom album out, I did the same formula, man. Went to the post office, sent that press kit, sent it to all the labels, sent it to all the festivals, all the websites, all the radio stations, all the magazines for all those reviews.
Right.
The only difference is when Preaching Venom came out, we actually got picked up by a label this time, which was Life Force Records in Germany.
Right.
And being kids from the Middle East, a metal band, and working with a German label is a no-brainer because that's where the fucking metal masses are in Europe, at least. Germany knows what they're doing in terms of festivals, in terms of labels, in terms of the music, in terms of the history and the experience. So we're like, you know what? These guys, they were one of the 24 labels I sent that press kit to, but they replied immediately. A guy called Stefan, who's still the owner of Life Force Records. At that point, they had Trivium, they had Heaven Shall Burn, they had Caliban. These are like, they had Between the Buried and Me, The Faceless. They had some names, man, Life Force Records. All these bands I mentioned moved on to bigger labels today. But
Right.
at that time, they had these credible bands, and I was like, dude, they're fucking interested. Like, they're interested in this. There's money, there's a budget, there's advance payments. I was like, well, we kind of already did the album, but they're still offering us all this stuff. And I didn't have lawyers to read the contract. I just had common sense. I had an education. Uh, I had a degree. We had to apply all of that. We didn't know where to go to get advice. So I mean, we negotiated for the sake of negotiating. Oh, can we get a little more? Because we actually did the album, so you guys have to you would have to pay us before anyway. But we did the album. We're giving it to you on a plate. You know, you'd have to just now promote it. And we're coming to your town. We're coming to play your festival in full force, where Leipzig is the city where they're based, the label. And, you know, we did that all by ourselves. You know, we played Waken. We're coming to Germany. We're coming to do these 7-8 shows in festival season. And they were like, I think that's what threw them away. They were like, man, we got local bands up in the neighborhood in Germany who don't play these shows, and you guys are in Dubai doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
So they were like, I think that's what sold them. They kind of like saw we put in the groundwork. They saw we played with big names already. They saw that we are walking the talk, not just releasing an album that sounds good to them, but also coming into their territory, into their region, and playing the big festivals. So they were like, yeah, like, look, let's meet up when you guys are here. We'll discuss face to face. And right after those shows, man, we went to their office in Leipzig and we signed with them. And with them came a lot of press, a lot of in-house press, because they have a publicist with every label does.
Right.
Which every label does. And yeah, it just opened up a whole new ballpark of this industry for us. We saw how it works. We saw what a publicist does. We saw what a booking agent does. We saw what the record label does. We saw royalty checks. We saw press. We saw things we didn't see, being that band from Dubai who did everything
by yourself. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you play also like smaller gigs in Europe, like bar gigs?
Yeah. Yeah, all the time. And we still go out there. We do headlining tours in Europe almost once every year, if not every 2 years. So we're centered around pub gigs, you know, not pub gigs. I'll take clubs, not pubs. We did our initial years of Europe were pubs, were bar gigs, like you said.
Right.
But then as the albums come out and as the name gets bigger, we get bigger offers, obviously. You know, we played a lot of festivals in Europe, so we are a pretty established name in Europe today. So in Europe, we still play a lot of the clubs every now and then, but we also do the proper venues, which are like what touring bands do. The venues that are built for touring bands, with a shower backstage, with a backstage room, and all that, you know. Yeah, but listen, man, we've seen the rise. We've seen the success of what Nervecell has gone through, and it was very gradual. You know, we didn't jump. We had serious high peaks,
right?
But we always knew our potential and how much we could draw in terms of bringing in an audience, and we had to put in the work. Like the initial years of playing Europe was personally invested on ourselves. You know, we had to book our flights, book a van, get a GPS, and go to these towns and cities that we didn't know anyone in. We just knew we knew the one guy's name, and that was the promoter's name, and we had a GPS address, and we're like, we got a show, man. Let's go. Yeah, and a lot of those shows were actually paid for. We're not they weren't free gigs like a lot of bands, even till today, do. I think we were just really lucky, man. We were in the right time, the right place. People looked at us as a serious band. They didn't just look at us as a band trying to get a gig. They looked at us as a band who has put in the work, who have albums out, who played with big names. Not everyone gets to play with these bands, so there has to be something there. They saw we were on a label. They heard whatever was out there available to listen to at that point, whether it's YouTube or MySpace or whatever. And they actually, and I love that about Europe, because they actually respect the fact that, you know, these things are not cheap, man. You know, to travel, it's time, it's investment. You know, they took care of us. They paid us fees and accommodated us, and you know, whatever we could put back into our flights was put back into it. And that's when I started taking more of a role of tour managing as well. Apart from handling the day-to-day bookings and negotiations and all that. Again, man, you should know that I have a degree in my BBA graduate. I got a concentration in marketing and a minor in economics. So you know, I wasn't just thinking, oh, I want to play a show. I'm just so happy to play the show. No, there has to be a business perspective to it.
Right.
And I started applying that at a time where I knew that we have fans who are going to pay tickets to come watch us. I didn't just put it out there that, yeah, we're going to play, but you need to give us our requirements, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I wouldn't do that, because I understand from a business perspective, they need to run a business too as a promoter. So I was very reasonable in my approach, and I would see, as we were growing, I could demand more, because I could see the interest coming into our inbox of all these promoters asking us to play, booking us to play. And that doesn't just come from anywhere. That comes because they're seeing something. They saw this interview we did. They saw us play at Waken. They saw us play at Summer Breeze. They saw us play at Full Force. They saw people talking. They know, they talk to their local communities, people refer us. So, you know, it's a hard industry, man. I feel sorry for a lot of the new bands, because there's so much to learn,
Mm.
and there's so much out there. It's saturated. You know, you can get lost in it very soon, and the attention span for any A&R person in a label to actually check your band out is really less than 5 minutes.
Yes.
So it's rough, man. So for Nervecell's sake, I mean, from what I can say from my experience, I just think that we were really at the right time, the right place, at a time where the Middle East was erupting for metal, and we were part of that rise. And
Yeah, but I also noticed that I think one thing that attracted me to Nervecell is that you guys kind of had the whole package, right? Like, you put out songs, you had albums, you had great artwork, you had great merch.
Okay.
And when I look at the lineup, you know, there's a thing about the band's lineup itself, right? People get,
I appreciate that.
right?
Yeah.
So all that really, that's why I think I talked to you like in 2011 during the show, like when you came to Philippines, just over the barrier. I was just
Right.
talking to
Yeah.
you first time.
I
So
remember that, bro. I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel that you guys have that figured out, that the whole formula to be, you know, a marketable band, right? So that's probably it.
Thanks, man. I really value that sort of insight, man, because I know you're a guy who's seen a lot of bands,
Yes.
not just a handful. I know you've seen that. I know you can assess a band who's serious and is passionate about it right from when they open their mouth and speak, or right from the way they hold themselves.
Right.
So, I mean, I see that in a lot of bands, you know. So, thank you. Yeah, I think what you said is, you touched on a lot of topics that I didn't even talk about myself, like the artwork, the sound, the production. We spend a lot of money on that stuff, man.
Mm.
It's not cheap. I mean, if you want to be out there internationally recognized, and when we started taking ourselves seriously as an internationally recognized band and stop thinking of ourselves as just a Dubai band, we had to play the part. We had to get a sound that was industry accepted. We had to get a sound that was up there with all the bands we listen to as genuine fans. Artwork is a huge part in what our themes are and what we sing about. So we started working with all the key players. You know, if a label is going to put money behind you, you can't slack. You know, they could take any other band on earth. So we always, you know, put ourselves in check, man. We did the research, we did the groundwork. We, like you said, worked on appearance, worked on quality, and and me, honestly, like, I love talking to fans. I love getting insight. I love talking and finding out how they found out about us, because it just blows my mind away. For something I wrote in my bedroom, that I'm getting able to fly to play on to thousands of people or hundreds of people, for something I wrote in my freaking bed, which I sleep at night every day. You know, like, to sit down and just came up with something. That's just like crazy, man. And I loved it, man. I love that. I love that people see Nervecell more than just the music, because there's personalities involved, you know, in the band. There's what you speak to James, what you speak to Rami, what you speak to me, could be different in many ways. It can transform. So, like, I guess we you know, Vernon, who was a Pulp SummerSlam promoter, said the same thing to me. He said, I like you guys because you'll have this thing, you'll have this package, you have yourself, who's the long hair dude, and then you have James, who's that angry Arab Middle Eastern looking guy, and then you have Rami, who's like very suspicious looking. And it's like, when you guys play death metal and you're all from the Middle East, it just like, it sounds intimidating. You know?
Yes.
So I was like, wow. Yeah, I don't really look at it that way, you know. I just It's cool though. It's cool because I can see how people would think that way. And another thing is, touching on this topic, is like whenever we're in Europe, man, there was this time in the initial stages where all the journalists would say like, "Oh, you guys are so exotic," and I was like, "That just sounds really not metal to me," you know. But to them, it's like, "Yeah, that's really cool. Dubai, wow, and there's death metal there, and you guys are very exotic." And I was like, "Fuck, that term is used way too much, man."
Right.
And I was like, whatever works, man. I would take it. You know, it was like all the interviews we did, there was like more curiosity about how are you guys playing extreme metal, the music we love here, and it's so freely expressible in the Middle East. How is that possible? I was like,
Right.
I
Right.
don't know, man. Blame MTV Headbangers Ball because that's what got me going. You know? Yeah.
Yeah. The one more music video I like is that you guys did with the guy from Nile, Carl Sanders, right?
Right.
You
Shunk. Yeah.
how did that happen? That collaboration happen?
Yeah, very naturally. We were in the studio recording Psychogenocide in 2011, and James wanted to write a song with Arabic lyrics, and we never did that before. And then we were like, yeah, but what about everyone else who want to really understand this, you know? And he was like, yeah, well, we've done a bunch of tours at this point, and we've met a lot of people, a
Mm.
lot of who we can call friends today, a lot of the bands who we were influenced by and inspired by, our idols, who we came across paths with on the road and stuff. Maybe we should look back at our address books and contact lists and see who we could ask to feature, because it was like a thing at that time, you know. Like I mean, from the very beginning, people have been featured
Yes.
on other bands' music and stuff. So mm, we were like, yeah, maybe we'll give it a shot. You know, it's a second full length. Why not? I mean, we never thought about it before, but it came up as an idea in the studio while we were recording. Shunk and James was penning down the lyrics in Arabic and stuff. And we are like, yeah, maybe we can get someone we know. Not so much as a marketing strategy, but more like could be interesting. You know, let's just see.
Mhm.
Let's see who's even interested to begin with, because it takes time, man. You got to book a studio. You got to, you know, you're putting your name behind someone else's song, and so not everyone's comfortable with that. Um, Apart from being close to them or not, you know, who these people are. So we had about 3 or 4 guys' names in mind. Well, I'll tell you this. It's funny because I don't think we spoke about this as much, but we had contacted Tim Lambesis from As Lay Dying for that role.
Right.
Uh, we had contacted Rob Flynn from Machine Head because we played with them 2 times, I think, twice in Dubai, I remember. And then As Lay Dying, you know, with Sri Lanka, we hung out a lot with As Lay Dying. Uh, from that Sri Lanka into the gig, even before Sri Lanka and Dubai Desert Rock, they played, and we played that same year as well in 2007. And in Europe, we met the As Lay Dying guys. We hung out with them in their buses and everything when they did the festival season. So
Yeah.
these were all everyone who I'm naming to you are people who we've sat down with, have a conversation with, um, you know, butted heads around the world and had some physical interaction with, because that's what made us comfortable to even approach them in the first place, right?
Right.
So those are some of the other guys we had thought of, and you know, Carl Sanders, of course, because of Nile, you know, being conceptually a band who dwells in the Middle Eastern, well, Egyptian mythology and all that as a concept
Right.
band, was a contender, and it ended up being Carl Sanders over everyone else I mentioned. I think there may be maybe one more guy. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is really inside information you're getting here. Um, but since I mentioned those 2 guys in particular, Tim said As Lay Dying were doing like their 20th anniversary thing for Metal Blade Records, so he didn't want to get involved with that that project at the time with us, because Brian Slagle, who was the owner of Metal Blade Records, wanted that to be the As Lay Dying focus that particular month or the month after. So he
Mm.
said he's kind of like not allowed in a way, but he would love to do it. And then he went and got himself in some trouble, which we all know about a couple of
Yes.
years later. So it's probably a good thing we didn't do it with him. But anyway, but Rob Flynn, his management got involved and said they are working on a new album, and this is definitely not something that's on the plate for him right now. And at that point, this is 2011. Machine Head were quite a big band, so whatever they did, they had a campaign for like 6 months before, and there was no getting in the way there. So we obviously respect that. But it would have been cool if he did it. I mean, not to downplay Carl Sanders. Carl Sanders was actually very easy to work with. He knew the band, for starters. He liked us. He had very good things to say. He didn't have to, because we weren't asking him to sing on our song anyway in the album or be part of Nervecell at any point or to be featured. He already had a pre-existing history with the band where he knew, as a musician, he was aware of what we were doing. But when we pitched the concept to him about him taking the role of doing the English lyrics, which is basically having a communication with James, the song Shunk is about, putting the demon in us all to justice, bringing him forth to justice. So the song is about a communication between all these demons in different forms and elements against fighting your inner demons in a way, and putting them to justice by hanging them. Right. So Carl Sanders was really cool with that concept, and he was on board, man. Like within 2 days, he was asking us for the lyrics, and he was ready to go in next week to in his home studio to record his bit. So because he was so responsive too, we felt like he's the right guy, And Nile is very known in the death metal genre, obviously, for their themes and their concepts. And Carl Sanders is a legendary guy himself, as a very unique guitar player, and his style, invested very much in the region and Egypt and stuff, and his team. So it was awesome, man. He was ready. He was so on board with it, and James couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe Carl Sanders was going to sing his lyrics and stuff, and like it was a moment for us, man. And that sparked from the studio. And because Carl Sanders was so responsive, is what made us more inclined to working with him, because we got stuff done very fast.
Right.
But yeah, that video, we decided to make that the single of the album too, and we flew Carl Sanders down. Did a music video in I should know this, Alain, one of the other Emirates here. I think it was Alain or Umar Quain or Fujairah. Fuck it, I'm just naming all the Emirates now. Yeah, but it was somewhere far away. It was not in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. It was in Russell. No, now I'm just really just bullshitting you. I think it should be Umar. I think it was Umar Quain or Alain, on where it was more deserty.
Right.
Sand dunes and stuff. The actual background of being on ground. Maybe 2 hours from where I live. Yeah, to get the actual landscape and the feel of the song. We did that video in like 10 to 12 hours.
Right.
Yeah. So all in the day's work. Yeah, that's how it came about, man. We don't have like I said, we're very spontaneous. Demean came out as a video for Preaching Venom as a single because friends, spoke to us about that. Let's do a video for you guys. And Shank came out because, we had to make a music video for this album. So we did that, and Carl Sanders was part of it. And we're very happy that that's now a testament to our work. And it's one of those songs we can't go a lot without playing live. Like everyone knows it. As much as Demean and everything else. So it was cool because it made people in the West know who Nervecell is too, with Carl Sanders being a part of the band for that song. It opened up a lot of doors, and a lot of people found out about us because that was cool. It's like Carl Sanders never really sings with any other bands. If you really look at his history, he doesn't. He may do like guest solos, like for Grave and like 1 or 2 other bands he's done solos for, but he's never really put himself on a video with another band or sang lyrics for another band or featured. So that was really cool, man. We're really humbled and proud to have him be a part of our history.
Yeah, for me, like I've listened to a couple of songs of Nile. I haven't really collected their stuff yet, but for me, they kind of like the Rush of death metal.
Oh well, yeah, that's a nice way of putting it, man. They got George Collias on drums, man. That guy is insane. He's one of those very unique drummers in the metal industry, man. Very respected. So Yeah, the rush of death metal. That's fucking cool analysis. I
Yeah,
like that.
because they're so up in there, right? And then
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do their own.
yeah. Sound for
They don't
sure.
try to sound anybody else. They just
Oh,
stick
they
to their
don't
mythology.
at all.
Yeah.
Right. And they're the kind of band that, you know, it goes full on, like extreme, but then they have these really cool uh hooks, man. Like, and they sound Middle Eastern, you know. They
Mm.
sound they sound right, like they should be from here. And he's always Carl's a very intelligent guy, man. He knows his history. He's into that,
Right.
you know, conceptually. So
So
all credit to them.
yeah, I really want to talk to you about this one because in 2011, you guys, the same year you came to the Philippines, you opened for Metallica finally, right?
Holy shit, yeah. Fuck.
Did you get how was that experience opening for Metallica finally?
Wow, man. I again, I feel like some of the times you hear my stories, you may think I'm just making this all sound so cute and like, you know, so like Hollywood, but it is what happened, man. It's true. Uh, uh, we got this call from a guy called Steve, who was a booking agent in Flash Entertainment. Now, Flash Entertainment were the promoters. So, and this came out of nowhere, man. This was me waking up one morning to a phone call and like a bunch of text messages at like 9:30. No one knew in the UAE Metallica were coming to town. Nobody knew that. It wasn't like underground news or, you know, exclusive breaking news that, you know, only the elitists in the scene knew. It was like complete shock. All of a sudden, we wake up one morning and the back of a newspaper in the tabloid, it says Metallica Death Magnetic World Tour live in Abu Dhabi. And people who went to work, not me because I was in bed. I mean, I'm a music teacher today. You know, I teach music, so I get up at a comfortable time. I don't do a 9 to 6, and I'm a freelancer. You know, I work in events and stuff. And I was sleeping, man, and I got this phone call and this text message saying, "Dude, Metallica are coming to the UAE." Like a lot of messages, screenshots, attachments, links,
Right.
and everyone woke up to this news that morning. You know, sometime, and this was in September, I think, because the gig was on October 25th, 2011. Obviously, I know that date. It's imprinted in my brain. You know,
Mm.
I'll never forget it. Changed one of the biggest gigs I'll ever play in my life. So it was October 25th, 2011. But the news came out really just 6 weeks before. So it was like out of nowhere. And when I saw that, I was like, holy crap, man. At that point, they were a band for 30 years. And they've never played the Middle East ever. I mean, the closest they've come to is probably Istanbul, which is Turkey, and and Israel, probably Tel Aviv, but never in the GCC, never in the actual Middle East, you
Mm.
know. So, and as a band who's been around for 30 years, and not just a band, like the metal band, you know, Metallica is something we all have our Metallica stories, you know, whether you're in the States or in Asia or Sri Lanka or India or wherever. Um, and that was the first time they were playing India too, by the way. They were
Mm.
going from the UAE to India, Bangalore and Delhi. One of those shows got canceled too. So
Yeah.
anyway, I
Yeah.
woke up that morning to this news that they're coming, and I'm like, oh my God, man, this is fucking incredible. I was like, I went on the internet, booked my snake bit tickets, you know, the front row,
Yeah.
500 dirhams for those, or 600. Messaged Rami before I did that because he was in Doha and James was in Dubai, right? And said, hey man, I'm booking my ticket. Do you want me to book one for you? Because I knew he was going to come, obviously. You know, this is Metallica.
Right.
You know, this is a band we've never seen before live. But this is a band that definitely got us into this style of music when we were kids, growing up. We were covering Metallica songs. Everyone was. Any guitarist would cover Metallica songs growing up learning. So it was like, hey man, do you want me to book your ticket too? Because I'm doing it right now. And he was like, yeah, sure. Dude, get me the same snake bit ticket and $5.95. Yeah, whatever. We'll figure it all out, man. It's in 6 weeks. So we booked our tickets, man, that morning. Fast forward to what was like 1 week later, uh, 7 to 10 days later, man. Now I'm sitting down with my tickets, right? And we're excited to see Metallica for the first time ever. You know, never been in the Middle East. Very important gig for us because
Right.
they're coming home. Get this call from a guy called Steve. Hey, no, actually, I didn't get a call. It was an email. It was an email saying, "Hey guys," to the booking Nervecell booking email. "Hey
Right.
guys, give me a call on this number. I'd like to discuss something with you." The number was given. I looked at his signature. It said Steve something, whatever his last name was, Flash Entertainment. So I was like, okay, this could be anything. This could be a press interview for us. This
Right.
could be us. This could be them asking us for information about where do they promote,
Mm.
or if we could speak to them about how it feels to be a fan to have Metallica come in, or them just asking us for information of where are the mediums to us to promote to metalheads.
Right.
That's what I was thinking, because it was very like straight up. It was one line: "Hey guys, give us a call. We'd like to discuss something with you." So I thought it was like, this has nothing to do with Nervecell's agenda. Nothing. Just they probably found us because they saw that we've been that band playing metal music and a local base. So they thought we would be a source for us to ask us for information of where to advertise and who to interview and blah blah blah. They call the number up, and the guy picks up. He's like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey, Steve, this is Barney. You know, I got an email from you guys saying to call this number." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Right. So, you know, we have this big band in town, right?" And I know this conversation from quote unquote start to finish because it changed my fucking life. And I didn't sleep for 3 days after it. True story.
Mm.
So he goes, "Hey," he's like, "Yeah, man, yeah, thanks for calling." He's like, "So you know we have this big band in town, right? Coming to town." And I was like, "Yeah, that's crazy, man. Thank you guys so much for doing that. That's awesome. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna appreciate it. I already booked my ticket." He's like, "Yeah, well, I don't think you're gonna need that anymore." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, we didn't speak to you guys about this, but we had passed your music on to them, and we got the green light from Metallica's management that they're okay with having an opening band, and so we pitched you guys. And if you guys are available on October 25th, we'd like you guys to play." And dude, I couldn't believe what I fucking heard, man. I was like, "This is a joke, right?" I was like, and I was like, I just seriously held my phone and I heard this guy say that. And I was like, instinctively, my reaction was, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, I don't care if this guy's a CEO of a company or whatever. My response was, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, I just said that. And he's like laughing like you are. And he's like, "No, man." He's like, "I'm serious." He's like, "You guys got the slot." And now, just put this into perspective. I didn't even ask for the slot. I didn't even think about this slot.
Right.
I was a ticket holder. I'm gonna watch the band. I'm gonna watch the band as a fan, be in the audience and watch this experience, watch this all unfold. Metallica for the first time in the Middle East, first gig ever in the Middle East, 30 years around being around as a band, playing in Dubai. And he's asking me, "Are you available?" Because we got the green light from their management for you guys to play. And I never even thought about this. And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And he's like, "No, man." So would you guys be okay with, and he quoted me a price, what they would pay Nervecell. Would you guys be okay with this price? Because I wasn't giving him an answer. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And stuck on that. And he's like, "Yeah, would you guys, no, I'm not." I was like, "And would you guys be okay with this amount?" And I'm like, not even thinking numbers. I'm just like, I was like, "Dude, I'll come walking to Abu Dhabi right now. It's a good hour and a half drive." I was like, "I'll come walking to Abu Dhabi right now. Where do I sign up?" Well, sure, send me the contract. And he's like, "All right, check your email in about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm just busy doing a few things. I'll get around to it. I'll draft it to you. And then if you would appreciate if you guys can sign it and send it back to me by within the next 48 hours. Because we need to advertise. Because at that time, the poster was just Metallica. So then they would go to the press the following week after the weekend's over with
Right.
supported by special guest Nervecell. And I had to send them all that information as you do. And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'll wait for your email. Talk to you later." Put the phone down, man. Again, I go straight to, well, I talk to my family first because they're the closest to me. And I tell my folks this and I tell my brothers this, and I'm like, "You won't believe what just happened." And they were like, dude, it was a life-changing moment. Like it was one of those calls, and it was like one of the highlights of my life till date, man. It doesn't get better than that, you know,
Okay.
especially when you're so invested at this point into the band, and then you get this calling. It's like, all right, now you know why you went through all those things in life, because this is it. It's finally happening. People are, you know, people have finally acknowledged and accepted and credited you now for all your work that you've been working towards. Nobody was probably listening before this. Nobody was. But then that really puts things into perspective, because I just immediately started thinking about, now it makes sense why I went through all that. Now it makes sense why we did all of this. Now it makes sense why all those compromises and sacrifices are probably going to see the light of day and pay off. You know, because that's it, man. That kind of cast it in stone. Metallica, supported by Nervecell,
Well,
and that's the fuck it. That was the gig, and I was like, that put things in stone and it casted it in everyone's heads. That right, our history is sort of like now being recognized for all what we've gone through, you know. And I was like, that's just gonna speak volumes, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, I think we did what we had to do to achieve that. And again, true story, you'll not hear it any different in any other interview I do when they ask me this question. That's how it rolled out. And I didn't sleep for 3 days, man. I could not, because every time I went to bed, man, I was like, fuck, is this really happening, man? Like, it's happening. Okay. Try and sleep. No, is it really happening? Like, honestly. And I looked like a jackass, man. I would go out in those 3 days, and I just constantly smiling when driving, smiling when going to the supermarket, just smiling. People probably thought I was fucking stupid or something, like it was something's wrong with me. But true story, man, life changing.
that's amazing. Uh, man, you guys put out the last record in 2017, right? Past,
Yeah,
present, and future.
right.
Can you tell me a little bit about that record? How is it different from your, like, for example, Psychogenocide?
Uh, sure. I know you bought it. I know you have the vinyl.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw you in the Park Summer Slam the last time you came there. Uh, it's past, present, torture after preaching when I'm a psychogenocide is different on many levels. Mainly us as musicians and our advancements and maturity in terms of technicality as well. The record compared to psychogenocide and preaching venom is musically very different. It's all in the vein of extreme metal, but it's probably our most technical album to date in terms of the musicianship that's involved on it. But that's also a sign of evolution and of how we evolve as people and as musicians. We've never sat down and said we need to write a technical death metal record. In fact, till date, we've never called ourselves a technical death metal band. We've just been a death thrash band,
Mm,
you know, a merge of the two genres.
right.
Uh, but looking at that album now, uh, it's technically up there, man. It's a very it's probably some of our best work to date. I'll be honest with you. I know it's cliche because every band says that with every new release, but from a musician standpoint, if you've been following Nervecell, you would definitely appreciate the skills in the dynamics we've used, and the writing has been really explosive on this last record. And I think that's a reflection of also what we've been through as a band
Mm,
since Psychogenocide and Preacher Band. We've seen so much of the world. We've toured extensively on those two first records. Asia, Europe, you name it, South America. So when we went back into the studio, we, you know, apart from being influenced by all of this, we also had a lot of frustration in the camp, you know, in writing, because there were a lot of things that we wanted that we also did not achieve and get to, you know, as personal goals that you set for yourself as a band. There
right.
were a lot of rejections. There were a lot of promises. There were a lot of tours that didn't go to plan. There were a lot of life issues that came in and affected us as people. So the music just got more intense, man. that's what it is. I mean, that's what happens. If life was all good and happy and colorful, you probably wouldn't get that record with that intensity and aggression that we captured on the album. Um, how it was different also was, in comparison to the first two albums and the EP, the first three releases, Rami and I, who are the core composers for the band, we wrote the songs differently this time around. Like normally we would sit down and mix and match riffs and ideas, but this time around we said, to sort of speeding up the process, we said we'll write songs. Uh, like he writes 4 songs, I write 4 songs. We bring it to the table and see what happens, and then we'll take it from there. But this time around in Past, Present, Torture, we wrote songs. Like I wrote songs from the start to the finish. So everything you hear is all me in that song. And everything you hear on this other track is all Rami from start to finish. And that's writing wise, that's where it was different in terms of composing. I don't know if it makes much a difference. I don't know if it's obvious, if you can hear these minor details and these intricacies, but that's something different we did this time around too.
Yeah, I think I agree, because what you said, because when I heard, if I described it, I actually used the word technical and
Right.
proficiency, that type of thing. That is what I felt when I was listening to the record.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're kind of on the ball with that then.
Yeah.
It is technically up there compared to the other records, because compared to the other Nervecell stuff that was out there in our discography. But I guess, again, that wasn't planned. That was just a natural approach to it. We also played around with, we also worked with a guy from Dubai, a guy called Hadi, who's a local producer here. Only because I was very comfortable with him as a person. He's a very good friend. And that's the thing in the band. With Nervecell, one thing I always do is I always want to work with people I'm comfortable with. I don't want to work with anyone for prestige or
Right.
for sake of getting some reaching more new audiences and stuff. Like if I'm gonna be myself for the music I write for myself, first and foremost, I need to be around people who I'm really comfortable with. Chemistry is everything for me.
Right.
That goes to say with even the sessionists, all our drummers. We've never had a permanent drummer. So there's many amazing drummers we played with, but it all comes down to really getting to sit with them and live with them and sleep and study and like work with them, getting on tour with them, and that chemistry is so important for me. I don't want to be around people who create that tension. Touring is hard enough, so when I work with sessionists too, it's really important for me and Rami and James as well to work with someone who's got the right mindset and is grounded as we are.
Have you got
Yeah.
closer enough with the drummer that you were like close to, including me in the band?
Yeah, lots, man. We have had the honor to work with a lot of cool drummers. There was a time, and a lot of the times we did Asia, was with Louis from Australia, Perth, Australia. You
Right.
probably saw us in Pulp Slam with him first time around. We did Sri Lanka with him too. And he lived in Perth, man. That's like 12-hour flight
Yeah.
from Dubai. But the reason we worked with him was because we did an Australia tour in 2007. We got along with him so well. We didn't know any other metal drummers in the Middle East who could, first of all, who are into this kind of music, and then B, very importantly, are technically able to play it.
Right.
So even if we have to, lose a bit of cash from our fees and what we charge and rates and our requirements on flying a guy out, let's do it, because we need to be content with who we work with. We need to be comfortable with that guy. So yeah, so Louis was one of them. Kevin Foley from Benighted, who ex-Benighted now from France. Alex from the UK, who is now playing in another band. Can't remember the name. Something with a V, Visceral or something, I think they call. So many guys, man. I'm probably forgetting. Oh, Dave Haley from Psychroptic as well, who recorded the first 2 albums. Yeah, the Past, Present, Torture we did with Kevin, who was based in Lyon, France. In Lyon. We actually went there. So another thing about this album is the first 2 records we didn't really record drums while being there in the drum booth. We sort
Right.
of sent the tracks over to Dave Haley in Tasmania, in Australia, and he did it. Whereas
Mm.
with Past Person Torture, we flew to France. We're really good friends with Kevin. We flew to France. We got him on board to record the drums for the album. He was really stoked. We made sure we write the drum tracks this time face to face, like while they're being composed. We call every drum roll, we call every cymbal that needs to be hit, we call every accent that needs to be heard. So we wanted to do it that way. So we actually took a whole year off not to tour, and we planned that year just to write. You know, it took about 6 months, right from writing the music, uh, sending the tracks across for everyone to know what's going on, the drummers and everything. And then after 6 months, it took another 6 months for us to then go and start recording it, apart from writing it. You know,
Mm.
Rami would come down from Doha, we would write for 3 months, he would come back 2 months later, finalize those skeleton songs to now full songs, send the tracks to the drummer. He gets an idea of what he has to do in 2 weeks from now, book a studio in France, book flights to France, Rami and I, play the songs live with Kevin, come up with ideas, record it over the next week, took the tracks back from France, back to Dubai, recorded guitars, bass, and vocals over it locally in Dubai with Hattie, my friend, in the home studio, Haven Studios. And then after all that was done, we're reaching almost a year now, booked a studio in Poland, heard studios, mixed and mastering, went back for 2 months with that. Oh, not, I say 2 months is a long time. Maybe about 5 weeks with the mixing and mastering, back and forth. You know, working on the internet's rough. Um, you can't really communicate sound with words. You know,
Right. Right.
sometimes it's hard. So, but that's our story. You know, it hasn't stopped us from doing what we do. It's the way we have to work with and make the best of. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, that album alone had a tour for itself. Like drums in France, guitars, bass, vocals in Dubai, guitar leads were done in Doha, Qatar. Mixing, mastering in Poland. So it's like it's a
Very.
long journey, man. And that's because we don't compromise, man. We just we want to go full on. We don't do something half-assed, and we've never approached it that way. You know,
Right.
people had expectations, man, after Psychogenocide, and we just naturally didn't take that as pressure. We just took it out of excitement, if anything.
Right. Right.
And we wanted to give them something they waited for. You know, it was like 6 years at this point since Nervecell released an album. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna wait 6 years, you're not gonna get 10 tracks. You're gonna get 13 tracks. You know. So we did interludes. We thought of it conceptually. We did a lot of instrumentation.
Mm.
Sort of thought about the mood between the sets of the song, the set list of the songs. Wrote them individually for the first time. Recorded the live drums live for the first time, which we didn't have the opportunity to before working with Dave Haley from Psychroptic. So a lot of changes, man, dynamically as well.
Mm. On that tour for that album, you toured also South America with Nervo Chaos, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So Nervecell and Nervo Chaos. So I saw Nervo Chaos were also here in the Philippines. So
Right.
how was that tour going to South America?
Oh, dude. You know, wow. Well, they weren't lying about those beaches that we hear of in the Lambada video, or what you hear about Brazil, man. That shit's for real. Like it's crazy. It's a
Right.
different world out there, especially as a guy. Like Brazil is, what do you think about Brazil when you think Brazil? You think samba, you think bikinis on the beach, you think Sepultura and
Right.
football, man. That's what you know of as Brazil in particular. So we did a Brazil. I mean, Nervecell are from Brazil, right? So we did a European tour with them. So it was a Nervecell tour, and
Right.
Nervecell had just happened to be by the booking agent the opening act that they were putting on the band to come on the road with us for Europe for like 2 weeks across. What was a 2 week run in Europe? So with that tour, we got so close to those guys, man. And them being from Brazil, they halfway in the tour they said, we should probably do this back home. Bring you guys to South America and like play
Right.
Brazil and everything. And so I was like, yeah, let's get to work on that, because the tours take time to plan, especially when you don't have agents and big managements behind you. It was all DIY, So Edu, the drummer, very cool guy. Immediately got to work on that after we finished that European run with Nervecell supporting us. 6 months later, we did a European tour, and I think about 6 months to 8 months later, we were all ready flying to Sao Paulo on that flight. And that's how it works, man. I love that because that's kind of like the old school ethics of how you treat bands. You know,
Right.
you get along with them. You see they have that same goal, that same push on power. You know, um, back to back road warriors. They saw that in us. They saw we had the fire too, so they just returned the favor, man. And that's how it used to be back in the day. Bands would take their friends on tour to support them. There was no bullshit involved.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but playing Brazil for the first time was amazing. Like it reminded me of like of the old school Dubai scene. Like kids would come out looking really beat up and like just still mosh and go crazy and like it's intense. It's a huge country. Metal is pretty much religion there.
Yeah.
You know, it's some of the most violent crowds, but they're so passionate. Holy crap! Like I seen Dubai come from nothing to get to where metal has then became a trend, and then people just dilute and go their own way. You know, you see those guys, those closet metalheads who bring out their Slayer, Metallica shirts just for that one gig, and then
Right.
they're never to be seen. But in Brazil, man, they don't play around. That's like I said, it's religious almost, man.
Mm.
There were people lining up into some of the shows we played with Nervecell for the tour we did there, where they came to the gig, but they know they're not going to get inside the venues because they don't have money for it. Like that's how hardcore it is. They just came to hang out and
Right.
see the band and just have a beer, just to meet the band outside the premises. That's how hardcore these kids are, man.
Wow.
And it's the proper shit. It's like the white Nike shoes with the tight denim jeans and the thrash metal shirt, or like
Right.
the dead shirts, like the classic fucking get up. Long hair, really. Oh, wow, man! It was so cool to be around all of that.
It's so cool.
You
You
know,
know,
we're sitting out here. We're kind of spoiled. You know, we have a good lifestyle, and we play this genre of music. But it's amazing how people who are on all walks of life so just as passionate as you are, but really don't have the privileges of what we have. So that always humbles me, man. When I go out there and to the third world countries, and you see this shit, you know, it's like, dude, man, it's like it gives you a sense of purpose. It makes you feel like you fucking owe it to them to just
mm,
to admire that, man.
yeah. Yeah. I think you should, Barney, you should consider the next tour: Nervecell, Nervo Chaos, and Nervosa.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's funny, man. That's a funny story. Yeah, I've thought about that. I was like, yeah, I'm sure people think this is kind of weird. Oh, maybe there's some conspiracy to all this. Like, what's with all this nerve stuff going on out of nowhere? You know, that's a cool. That would be more of a laughing tour than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nervecell are cool guys, man. And they
Yeah.
obviously they know Nervosa too, the all-girl thrash band.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty cool. I think they're hardworking. I think the girl just left the singer. She just started a new
Yeah.
band.
They have a new lineup. Yeah. And then the
Yeah,
singer started a Crypta, I think. Cryptos or
correct.
Crypta.
And Sophia is on that. I know Sophia.
Yeah.
She's playing. When we were in the Netherlands, we did a show in Utrecht, and Sophia was playing with the band that was supporting the show, opening for the show, and now she's like huge in the metal scene. She's like playing around, doing all these other
Yes.
side
Yes.
projects, and that's really happy for her. Yeah, yeah.
Barney, I just want to ask you regarding your CD collection on your
Oh yeah, right.
man.
So I didn't really plan this. When you told me you want to do a podcast, I just said, let me go to it. It's the morning here, you know, so I don't really wake up at 9-10. But I did it for you. But like I said, I'll go towards the sunlight because it's natural. You know,
Right. Yes.
I could do with a lot of sun. That's one of the things I love about Dubai. It's like we have a good weather here all through the year. It's like sunny. So I said I'll come out to this corner of my room, get some sunlight going, and since it's the morning, and also, yeah, my room's a bit messy right now. I'd rather show you this than my bed. You know what I mean?
So how many CDs do you have now?
Well, easily 3,000 something.
Wow.
I stopped counting, man. I stopped counting. So what you see here is actually not all of it. This is the initial cabinet I had custom built.
Right.
They come with locks. I don't know if you can see the lock here, but
Right. Right.
you know, I'm really I'm really paranoid and protective over these things. This is a library I've been building from those 94, 95 days collecting CDs. So this is only the first cabinet. So they're probably in alphabetical order because
Mm.
I started that way. But then you see the ones that are stacked up on top. Like those are the ones that belong to those alphabets, but I couldn't be fucked to
Yeah, you
schedule
have
them
to
in right
move
now.
everything to put it
Yeah,
in.
and it's like, oh man, this is only the first cabinet. So there's like three more that go down towards my room, in drawers and cabinets. I can't keep them anymore. You know, the shelves may fall. Below, back down here, I can't move it because it'll be a little more, it'll mess things up. But are my cassettes. So the top half are CDs, and
Right.
at the bottom I have cassettes. And that goes, and like what you see here, I have like seriously maybe two more shelves like this, like of stacks of CDs.
Mm.
And at some point I want to just put them all as wallpaper, like a whole wall from top to bottom of just like CDs. And yeah, I started from the mid '90s, man. It's become a passion for me now. It's become a hobby. Like I would have one less pint of beer in the bar to buy a CD. Let's just put it that way. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's my most prized possession, man. If you ask me, not my car, not some of maybe, yeah, you know what I mean. Like people invest into hobbies like into cars or into shoes or into
Mm.
you name it. But for me, it's definitely buying records, man. I love it. I love it because I listen to them from start
Right.
to finish. I value the artwork, the presentation, the smell of a booklet when you open it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I I love it, man. I love the linear notes, the details, the thank yous,
Right.
all those things, man. From like I said, as a kid, I've been like fascinated by it all. Like that's a moment in time you're holding in your hand that you can never change or take back. And then when they do second pressings and they do re-releases and
Mm.
remasters and all that, and the notes that the artists write and along with that and all that, it's just so important for me. As being an artist myself, I also look at it as giving back to the bands who've inspired you and changed your life.
Right.
So it's obviously a way of supporting them and keeping the bands and the music scene alive.
Yeah. Keeping
So
the thing alive. Yeah.
I still buy records till today. I mean, I can't afford to buy vinyls or even start a vinyl collection. I would love to, don't get me wrong, but
Mm.
I would probably have to live in the street if I do that.
Yeah, I mean, I have like half of mine is vinyl and a CD, but I kind of fell in love again with CDs because I keep
Right.
on buying. I just got a package just today before before I
Wow.
called you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, dude. I tend not to do a lot of online shopping, especially because you know, not everyone's really honest with the quality of what you
Right, right,
get,
right.
right? So I kind of like avoid that. I try and keep it to a very minimal level of how much online shopping I do for albums. But I'm always in these groups of
Mm.
buy, trade, sell groups that
Right.
are online and these communities, and I trust those guys, you know, because I know those people. So whenever someone's moving out or someone has a garage sale or someone has these bunch of CDs that they're selling or they want to get rid of, I'm like first customer there, man. They know. They hit me up. People have given me so many free CDs just because they don't want to throw it. They feel bad throwing it. They're like, yeah, dude, take it. Do something with it. And I was like, they're not metal, but if I find like a Bon Jovi or like a U2 or REM or something, I'll take it just for the collection's sake. But
Right.
the rest of it, I play frisbee with it or whatever. I don't know if it's not something I'm interested in. But yeah, but no, man. CD collection for me is like such a passion for me. Like it's a hobby and it's a passion I have. If I have to move, this is my priority. I gotta make sure these guys are safe first, like my collection's safe first, because that's like you can't compromise with that. I love it. I actually listen to these albums, man. They're not just showpieces. I actually listen to them from start
Right.
track one to the end, the way they're supposed to. without interfering and forwarding to the next track and stuff. I listen to them. I sit down and I put a CD in play and I listen to it.
Yeah.
Same with magazines. I got a ton of magazines right here. You can't see, but like down this drawer, all my Metal Hammers, all my Kerrangs, all my Hit Paraders, all my Guitar Worlds. They're all here stacked up to the floor like that high down
Yeah.
here.
So Barney, we had a very long talk. So,
Yeah.
Metal Hammer actually identified you guys as defenders of the faith, right? In
Awesome.
one of
Fuck yeah,
the.
man.
So
Yeah, I'm happy you announced that. That's really cool because I tend to oversee a lot of the accomplishments we've had.
I think
But
I have that magazine probably.
yeah, you know why they did that? They did that because we were on a steady run, and that was 2011. One of the 50 of the Defenders of the Faith, Metal Hammer. They honored us by doing that. Again, from their own side. It's not like I know the guys in Metal Hammer. They did that, and we found out because we bought the magazine and found out. Nobody told us about this, you know. It ends up being we're on this. We're cited as one of the 50 defenders of the faith, and that's an honor coming from me as a kid who used to buy this magazine every month, man, and take those posters off, those 8-page posters they used to have, and stick them on my walls and stuff. So for them to recognize that was a landmark in our rise and in our career. And they got that because I firmly believe that was because after the Metallica show happened, it was big news, man. For us to open for them. So, and then that was October, and then November we went to Europe to play with Morbid Angel for like a whole month across Europe and the UK. So we had like all-time highs. We were playing with Metallica, this exclusive show, and then the following month we were scheduled to go in Europe on tour with Morbid Angel to Europe, which is like Morbid Angel is like the Metallica of the death metal scene, you know. So it was like back-to-back runs, and then being a UK-based publishing company, publication, Metal Hammer saw that consistency that we were working towards.
Yeah.
And they probably saw us in the UK on one of those Morbid Angel support shows. We played about 28 shows with them, and about 5 or 6 were in the UK. Wow. So they probably decided, hey, man, these guys are actually pulling some strings and doing shit. So I don't remember meeting anyone from Metal Hammer on that tour, but I'm sure they were there in one of the gigs backstage on doing press. And that's what they gave us credit for that year. And it was incredible just to seal that year off with what all we had done. And then we came back we came back home in December, and then the next month in January, Virgin Megastores from the U.A.E. and Middle East and North Africa region awarded Nervecell with a plaque of recognition for being the best-selling metal act in stores for Psychogenocide.
Yeah.
They do that at the year end, and we were like the highest-selling metal band, which was international repertoire included. And that was a domino effect of playing with Metallica too, because as soon as we did that show, I think it opened up a lot of space for new fans who never heard of us. And the album sales went up big time with Psychogenocide, man. Yeah. So then we got that award of recognition from Virgin Megastores too, which was like, just like going uphill, man. It was like incredible. And it was all too fast, we were just those same kids who did this for the fun perspective things.
Right.
That was always us going into this with just that doing it because we love it. It's passion of playing. And then you get all these things that come with it. It's like, wow, incredible.
So Barney, what's next for Nervecell? What can we expect for Nervecell?
Okay, so we'll tell you straight up, we are in a difficult time right now. Okay, but before this happened, unfortunately, this whole pandemic, we decided really like towards the end of last year that we take a break for 2020. We straight up genuinely as a band decided that because life was taking a bit of return for some of the members. So we said, you know what, we don't want to force anyone to do this. Let's keep the concept and the main initiative of why we love what we do in place and intact, and never lose focus of that. So we mutually agreed. We sat down and said, the last tour we did was Europe, and in the summer, of 2018 or 19. I'm not sure. Yeah, 19 actually. Last year. Yeah,
Last year.
last year. It was like around August. I think it was one of the last shows we played, a festival called Proton Open Air in Germany. We did a bunch of shows prior to that while we were there. And after coming off that European tour, when it reached towards the end of the year last year, we said we'll take a year off because, we had to get things in place. Life takes a turn on you, and some members more than others. Out of respect for our friendship that we have as band members, and in honoring that, we said, let's not force this onto any one of us. Because I know I wouldn't like to be forced to do anything, let alone do what I love, which is play and tour and, write music, perform, tour to support albums. I wouldn't want to be forced to do that. So since we're not in the headspace, some of us in the band had some issues to deal with. We just said, let's respect that and take the year off. But while taking the year off, doesn't mean we just sit down. We can compose and write music for the next record. Personally, if you ask me, I don't think we toured as much as we should have in support of Past Person Torture. I think we didn't do justice for that album. We did do Asia. We played Taiwan, Singapore. Philippines, Pop Summer Slam was one of those Asia runs we did. We did Malaysia for the first time. Nepal was the last cycle. But yeah, we did a lot of new countries in terms of Asia as well. And Europe, of course, every year we used to go out there. But I think it's time we took a break because there was some tension in the band personally. Like I said, there was some personal issues going on. So I just don't like that. I never like to work under pressure, man. I just don't like that. I think we've done so many things and we've accomplished so many things that we can actually take a step back. It's okay for us to take a step back. It's okay for other bands to come in and do what they have to do. And it's not like we were taking away anyone's, stepping on any toes or anything. It's just that I think Nervecell needed a break because we're not all, we did a bunch of tours without James, and that's where this is all coming from. Like, we did the last Brazil tour without him. We did the Sepultura show when they came here in Dubai, supporting them without him. And we did Europe also without him. And I was kind of getting sick and tired of like trying to push this so much when one of the co-members is just not on stage with me, I value that a lot, being a metal fan, being a fan of other bands. I think it's special because fans learn to appreciate when the band still goes through and fulfills their commitments to tour. But I think we lost the vibe, so to speak. Like it's not something I'm really confident in doing. I would like to do it the right way when everyone's, there. So the show must go on. The shows did go on, but yeah, I think we can take a break. So we decided a long time ago to go on a hiatus just for a year. We didn't come public about it, but because you never know, we do get these one-off gigs every now and then, right? So, but then this pandemic happened, and then we're like, you know what? Fuck, it's kind of working in our favor at the moment. We did decide we're gonna take a year off, so let's just ride with it and try and just be positive for everyone else, man. Like, being a musician is so hard to accept at this point because they're saying that this may not go away for well over into 2021 too. And I'm not a big fan of watching bands virtually. Like, I don't think that's, no. I think in this genre of music, in this genre of music, it really shines when you see a band live, I think we're suffering a bit by that. And it's scary to think that a lot of venues may go out of business tomorrow because of this too, hard times. But then again, mankind has been through this shit before. We've had the Spanish flu and we've had other pandemics that have come and gone. At the same time, I'll say I think it's high time people started to look around and be more cautious because I think we're just taking this whole planet for granted, man. So I think the way it's going to change our lifestyle, probably for the better. But don't get me wrong, I miss touring so much. I miss planning, and I miss knowing that I can sit down for 6 months, but I know the 7th month I'm going to be on tour. I know that there's something to look forward to, and I'll just wake up every day knowing that I'm tunnel visioning towards that moment. And right now, it's hard to say when that moment's going to be, which is scary.
Yeah. At least there was some good news today that Slipknot just announced the Southeast
Yeah, in
Asian date.
January. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's crazy, man. I hope they come around to U.A.E too. Let's see.
Yeah.
They've never been here before, so they're quite a commercial metal band. So I think they could do it. You know, Black Sabbath played here only when they were doing the farewell tour in Abu Dhabi. That's same did Motley Crue. They came here when they were doing the farewell tour.
Right.
Slayer, however, did not come here when they
Yeah.
did the farewell tour. They came to the Philippines while their own gig, and then you guys got to see them.
Yes.
And I was just like, they have to come here. It's the farewell tour. They should. Well, they didn't. But then again, it's Slayer. You know,
Yeah.
very a lot of controversy with their
Right.
images and all that. You know, so and their live show. So I understand, but I was kind of bummed. I mean, I did get to see them in my time, so I'm happy that I got to see them at least before they called it a day. So yeah.
Yes. So, Barney, any message to everyone who's watching this video?
Yeah. First of all, good job. You know, there's a lot of people doing podcasts like this, and that's the beauty about, I think, metalheads or fans of music in general, that we always find a way to come together. And you
Right.
taking the initiative to do something like this and interview people and other creatives out there is what we need, especially in these tiring times, man. Like, so thank you, Channa, for your efforts. And as far as messages to people go, Nervecell fans or fellow musicians or whoever you are as an enthusiast watching this podcast and the viewers you have, keep your head up. I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. If it
Yeah.
inspired you in any way, or if you got some insight into what goes on with kids in Dubai and like metal scene wise, and like how my humble stories have like maybe brought a smile to your face today. I just want to say thank you to all Nervecell fans, especially who tuned in and who may watch this, and just know that we're not calling it a day anytime soon. We've got a bit of a struggle at the moment in the camp, but these are the kind of things that make us come out stronger, man, and make us write music that actually have a soul and purpose. And for everyone else watching, thank you for your patience with tuning in. Sorry about that disconnection. I guess you're gonna merge those videos together when I lost internet. But yeah, keep your spirits up. We need everyone to still be as passionate and driven as fans of music or as musicians, and yeah, keep supporting metal. And yeah, cheers. Have a positive attitude, man, no matter what. I mean, everyone's in this together. It's not like you're singled out and
Right.
cursed. We're all in this together. Be smart, be safe, and hopefully we get to see you at some of the shows, whether in the audience or to perform to you guys, to all your viewers, Channa.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, man.
Yes. So, Barney, thank you for doing this. Give my regards to James and Rami.
I will, sir. I will do
Although,
that.
because when they were here, I think James were kind of shy to talk.
I don't know. We're all different people. James, if you catch James, you catch me, and you catch Rami separately. We're all different kinds of people,
Yeah.
personality-wise. But that's the beauty of what brings us together as members in the band. But I'm sure he's far from shy. I think you met me at a time where I was like, on the move, trying to get the merch in place, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I still do all of this shit, man. I'm still that same guy who manages, books, does the inventory for the merch, and then have to perform, So when you saw
Right.
me, yeah, I was running around, but I love, like I said, I love interaction, man. I love talking to people. This is why we love it. This is, you learn and you make friends along the way, and you're one of them.
Okay. Thanks, Barney.
Thanks, brother.
Stay
And
safe.
Thanks for all your support, man. Thanks for all your support. I see you wear the Nervecell shirt there, and I appreciate that. It's
See you,
good to
man.
see
Thank
that
you.
people see us, and thank you for all your help and interest, man.
you.